Welcome to my presentation on Lorraine Hansberry for Theater 100. So, who was Lorraine Hansberry? Well, Lorraine Hansberry, as you can see on the right, was a playwright who wrote A Raisin in the Sun. She lived from 1930 to 1965, which is a short life because she died at age of 34 of pancreatic cancer. She also was a lesbian, as we would go through the presentation, who she married. She was also the first black playwright, and she was the first black playwright at the age of 29. She was also the youngest American to win a New York Film Critics Circle Award, which is an award for an individual or an organization that have made significant contributions to the art of cinema. So now getting into her education, she did break her family's tradition of enrolling in Southern black colleges by going to the University of Wisconsin in Madison instead. She did have an art major, but she decided to change it to writing because she thought writing would be a lot better. She did, however, drop out to move to New York City, and there she attended the New School for Social Research. And after her education in that school, she decided to work for Paul Robinson's progressive black newspaper called Freedom. Continuing her education, as it did pay off because in 1957, she joined the Daughters of Bilitis and contributed letters to their magazine, The Ladder. So now, getting into her well-known playwright, A Raisin in the Sun, as you can see, it is the front cover of the story on the right. It was formerly known as The Crystal Stair. The play is about a struggling black family in Chicago. The first performance was in 1959 and opened at the Ethel Barrymore Theater on March 11 that year. It was also the first Broadway play produced by an African American woman, and it did have a film adaptation which was released in 1961. So now we can get into her little personal life. As mentioned before, she was a lesbian. She did marry a Jewish songwriter, Robert Nemiroff, from 1953 to 1962. During this time, she did write her second play by the name of The Sign in Sidney Verstein's Window in 1964, and as you can see on the bottom was a playbill of the play that was also produced for Broadway that would get played there. So after her death, her former fiancé had many collections and interviews of her, and they were recorded in their work of To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. This was opened up on Broadway at the Cherry Lane Theater. It also had a running time of 8 months for people to go see it. The last thing I want to talk about is her legacy. Although she lived a short life, she did have a legacy that was brought after her. So getting back to A Raisin in the Sun, it is now considered one of hallmarks of the American stage. And today, it continues to attract new audiences to the story. After the first film adaptation in 1961, 2 more were created on the play. The first film was done in 1989, and then the second of the 3 was done in 2008. Both of them won Emmys for those years. It also won a Tony Award for 2004 and 2014. A Tony Award is given for distinguished achievements in American theater, and you can also see the Tony Award on the right. And as you can see on this slide are the three sources I used for my presentation.